Thank you for this indulgence. I wanted to offer some reflections as the conference draws to a close. And some of these reflections are really questions to put back out to the audience. Let me first by leading with a story. I grew up pretty much as a nerd kid, although I was bigger than most other kids so that I could kick your butt. I mean, I had the soul of a nerd, and for me that's all I cared about, because that was, the nerd credentials come from what goes on in your mind. And I attended the Bronx High School of Science in New York City. We were classmates, well, same school as Steven Weinberg, by the way. A school that has 7 Nobel laureates to its credit, all in physics. And so that environment is quite rich, intellectually rich, not because it has great instructors, which it may have, but that's not what distinguishes it. What distinguishes it is what you do in your interstitial time, during study hall, between classes, on the bus, long bus ride home. And you're talking about math, you're talking about physics and chemistry, things you had just learned. And so this was my life. And I was quite analytical very early, with very little room for emotion for things, because emotion was kind of irrational to me. Why are you crying? Is that going to fix the problem? So just, why don't you try to fix the problem rather than crying or getting uncontrollably frantic. And that's how I was, right up to college. And I had this moment in college, this epiphanic moment with regard to my rational mind. And it took place my freshman year. I was taking, it'll sound simple and meaningless to you, but for me it was quite meaningful because my life pivoted on that one moment. Went to a liberal arts college, and there, look, I majored in physics, but went to a liberal arts college. So half my courses were not physics or math. More than half. 60% was other stuff. One of them was a survey course in art and design. The full year, September to May. We covered everything. Illustrations, charcoal, drawing of nudes. By the way, I think the claim of the beauty of the naked human body is overrated, okay, just in case you're wondering. And so we built a chair out of cardboard and built wooden, we just did everything that art and design people do. Well, around October, they hauled in this wall of pumpkins, okay? And this is in a beautiful art studio. And we were to draw the pumpkins with charcoal. And so I did that. And it was like 50 pumpkins, the gnarly looking pumpkins, the kinds that people didn't buy and were then surely acquired on the cheap for this exercise. So I became one of the best pumpkin drawers you've ever met, all right? Ask me later to draw a pumpkin for you, I'll be very happy to. And this is just because I felt like the Karate Kid, where he said just, you know, paint fence. It was like, draw a pumpkin. We drew pumpkins for 3 weeks. And I had no understanding of why we were doing this. And I was saying, why am I even in this class? Because that was preceded in the charcoal exercises. They played music, and the guy comes up to me and says, draw the music. I said, huh? He says, draw the energy in the music. And this, you can't, I just graduated from the Bronx High School of Science. You don't tell such a person to draw the energy in a music. Energy is MC squared, 1/2 G. I've got equations for energy. You don't draw energy that you hear. And so this course was like, what? And I was ready to explode, because I said, where are they coming from? These are grown-up people speaking this way. Don't they understand the precision of how to communicate real-life things in the real world? And so there I was, drawing pumpkins. And then, week 4, after what was surely my 100,000th pumpkin, and they're stacked against the wall in all kinds of angles. And the week 4 I come in, the pumpkins are still there. And they said, this time, don't draw the pumpkin. Draw the space between the pumpkins. And at that moment, I snapped. Because, no, think about it. I spent 3 weeks endowing meaning to pumpkins on a level never have I endowed meaning to such a thing before, and now they are just the boundaries to emptiness. And now I'm to give meaning to the emptiness. And my mind just snapped. I don't know, I was probably looked like I was comatose. And what happened to me at that moment was my brain did some kind of inversion. Something snapped, because after that, as I started drawing the space between the pumpkins, I started seeing things I'd never seen before. That's not a gap between these two wooden panels. That is itself a shape. That is a shape, juxtaposed with other shapes. And a black letter on a page, yes, it's a black letter on a page, it's also a white page surrounding nothing. And it's the nothing that I'm giving value to. And so all of a sudden, I came out of there being able to speak fluently with artists about what a painting feels like, about how much energy there is in one part of a painting or a performance or work of music. And all of a sudden, the entire branch of humanities poured down into my soul of curiosity. I never thought that was possible, but it was there and it was real. And what accompanied that was a level of emotion that I had never previously experienced. Thereafter, I would attend the opera, where previously it's like, what are they singing about? Why doesn't he just kill him already? You know, I mean, that's how I used to approach these things. And now I'm like, I got to pull out the handkerchief, because I'm getting misty over the emotions that are captured in song. And to this day, it remains true that simple things that I used to chuckle at, even corny boy meets girl songs in Broadway musicals, I will well up because the song enables me to feel the emotions of the person better. And so my life got different. So now I'm becoming a scientist. I'm in college majoring in physics. I go to graduate school, get the PhD in astrophysics. It's my life love. I've known this since I was a kid. I didn't accidentally land at the Bronx High School of Science. I knew, but I wanted to become an astrophysicist, not because I chose it. In a way, the universe chose me. That first day in the Hayden Planetarium at age 9 as a kid, and I looked up and the lights dimmed and the stars came out. And I was called by the universe. I had no choice in the matter. I became a student of the universe with the ambition of one day being one of its participants in research on the frontier of cosmic discovery. And that ambition, that inculcation, stayed with me the whole time. To the point where when you become an astrophysicist, when you become a scientist at all, here's what I'm putting back to you. Because what we used to do, and I regret it a little bit, is you would go on pilgrimages to mountaintops, because that's where your telescopes are. And where is the mountain? The mountain is far away from any city, because cities have lights and pollution and other things that interfere with your views. So by construct, the best telescopic observing sites are far removed from civilization, which means it takes at least 4 modes of transportation to get there. The plane, the train, the bus, the all-terrain vehicle. Then you get to the mountaintop. And what do you have to do next? You have to then start going nocturnal. The day is now your night, and the night is your day. And so that's part of the pilgrimage. There's the effort of the travel, and then there's the effort of flipping your schedule and going nocturnal. Then there's the telescope itself, this conduit to the cosmos. It's a physical, it's a tube. It's a conduit. And I sit there and I reflect on it. My specialty was the center of the Milky Way galaxy, 30,000 light years away. And so I have my digital detectors, I've got the telescope, it's dark, it's just me on this mountain and the universe. And I look up and I just think to myself, there are photons that have been traveling for 30,000 years. And I'm sort of snatching them from this journey and planting them into my digital detector. And then I started feeling bad for the photon, and I said maybe it wanted to continue, but I got in its way. But then I said, no, those are probably happier photons than the one that slammed into the mountainside, that will go unanalyzed and will not contribute to the depth of our understanding of the universe. But so there's not only the fact that I'm on the mountaintop, there's the knowledge and the feeling that I'm reaching out to the universe with these methods and tools of science. And then add to that the sum of 20th century knowledge about the origin of the chemical elements, something the chemist would not be able to answer without the help of the astrophysicist. We can trace the elements. They were forged in the centers of stars, high-mass stars, that went unstable at the ends of their lives. They exploded, scattered their enriched contents across the galaxy, sprinkled into gas clouds that then collapsed and formed stars and planets and life. And so these ideas, these cosmic perspectives, this pilgrimage to the cosmos, there are people who say, this makes me feel small because I need to see the immensity of the cosmos. And I say, no, you're not thinking about it the right way. You're not. By the way, when we opened our facility, I got a letter from a psychologist from the University of Pennsylvania. He had seen our show, which was a zoom out from Earth, and Earth just shrinks to nothingness as you go to the edge of the universe. And he wrote me a letter that says, I specialize in the psychological effects of things that make people feel insignificant. And I thought, bummer of a job. Man, is that what you do for a living? And he said, needless to say, your show was the greatest elicitor of feelings of smallness I have ever seen. Will you allow me to conduct a survey on the people who visit your show? And I thought to myself, there's something wrong here, because why does he feel small, but when I look up in the universe, I feel large? Then I realized the problem was his ego was too large to begin with. He came to the problem thinking too highly of who and what he was to begin with, because then everything that happened in the show destabilized his self-image. Whereas I know that the molecules in my body are traceable to phenomena in the cosmos. And it's our 15 pounds of gray matter that figured this out. There's a kinship with the cosmos that resonates deeply with New Age thinking, but I'm not apologetic about that. It's what we find. If whatever we find resonates with whoever, go ahead, take it. We're in one of the greatest centers of neurophysiology. I want somebody to put electrodes on my head. And when I reflect on our kinship with the cosmos, when I do the calculation that shows that a 15-ton meteorite that we have in the center of the Rose Center for Earth and Space, it's an iron meteorite. When I do the calculation that shows that if you take all of the iron from the hemoglobin of the people in the tri-state area of New York City, you can recover that much iron out of their blood, and realize that the iron from that meteorite and the iron from your blood has common origin in the core of a star. Tell me what part of my brain is lighting up, because that excites me. That makes me want to grab people in the street and say, have you heard this? That it's not simply, as Carl Sagan has said, we are star stuff, but there's a more poetic and I think more accurate way to say it. It's quite literally true that we are stardust. In the highest exalted way one can use that phrase. And so I feel, and I use words. I bask in the majesty of the cosmos. I use words, compose sentences that sound like the sentences I hear out of people who had revelations of Jesus. There's some commonality of feeling. I know it. Well, I don't know it. I want someone to do that experiment, because the day you do, if the same centers in my brain are excited by these cosmic thoughts as what are going on in the mind of a religious person, that's something to know. That's going to be really interesting finding. Because what that tells me as an educator is, let me offer the universe to people. And they'll start taking it in. And they'll start achieving those feelings that they had before. And I don't so much care whether they abandon previous feelings. I've got an offering that keeps growing, that keeps becoming more majestic. When it was announced that we were going to cancel the Hubble telescope, the greatest outcry to not do that was not the astrophysicists. It wasn't from within NASA. It was the public. It was all over the op-ed pages and the talk shows. The public took ownership of the Hubble Space Telescope because the universe was coming into their bedroom. into the living room, onto their computer. They were a participant on the frontier of discovery. And as far as I can tell, if you let them know that it's not simply that we're in the universe, but in fact, given the chemistry of it all and the nuclear physics of it all, not only are we in the universe is in us. And I don't know any deeper spiritual feeling than what that brings upon me. And I just wanted to leave you with those thoughts. Thank you.
The laws of physics say it's just exponentially more expensive and exponentially more difficult to actually explore somewhere interesting.
Yeah.
And therefore, I don't think it's ever going to be. I don't think private industry has ever got the commercial payback is not going to be in the near term without the government.
I've been politely silent, haven't I?
I know. I was surprised.
I was going to use the word oddly, but okay.
I didn't think you were that polite, though, but it's okay.
I just want to clarify some of this information that's being bandied back and forth. There is fundamentally no business case for private... Can I finish the sentence?
I'm not sure I want to be here anymore.
There is fundamentally no business case for private enterprise to advance a space frontier.
But why do we want people in low Earth orbit? I mean, I just don't understand. Why do we want people hanging out in low Earth orbit?
Oh, because they'll buy seats to take a vacation there.
Well,
they already have. The people doing it, the people buying tickets at $20 million a seat. So you make it $10 million, more people will buy the seat. Twice even more.
Absolutely, you're right. I think it's for entertainment
purposes.
purposes.
So then what are you arguing with me about?
Well, the point is, as a goal, as a national goal, why do you want people in low Earth orbit other than entertainment?
No, if it's commercial, there's no national goal. If it's commercial, it's whatever makes money.
I want them there because it will lower the cost of getting satellites for research into orbit.
Thank you.
No.
And,
why would it do that?
And
is there more?
If NASA needs to go back to the space station, they don't have to launch one of their own rockets. Yeah. They hitch a ride on Elon Musk's
But hopefully
rocket.
we can get rid of the space station so they won't have to go there.
Whatever they will need, whatever is the need in low Earth orbit, NASA should not be the truck driver to make that happen.
I agree with you completely.
No, so...
as I always do.
Wait, that's delusional. I'll explain why.
I agree.
Okay, Neil, go ahead. I'll speak later.
Allow me to explain.
Okay.
The reason why there's so much interest in that Twitter feed is because the manned program was not itself advancing an exploration frontier. Had they been doing that at the same time, no one would have given a rat's ass what the robot was doing. And that's what was implicitly recounted here with the moon. In the 1960s, there were robots on the moon. Did you hear about any of them? No, because the manned program was advancing a space frontier. If you do both simultaneously, we're going to be listening to the tweets of the astronauts and not of your robot. That's how that happens. Without the manned program, the robots look really sexy.
I hate to agree with Neil at all, but...
Phoenix was cute!
No, but there's some sense to what he said in this case. But
does anybody know exactly when it lost control?
Anyway, at the end of the day, the thing is, manned space flight, kind of awesome, kind of wish I could be part of it, but there isn't the budget in the world right now to do it right. We want to learn, we want to explore, we want to do science, and we have to use robots to do that.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Should I just calm down?
No, bring it on, Dr. T.
Here's supposing.
Testify.
Plus, we got questions.
Tell the truth.
And I want to make sure we get the questions, but I got to rebut that. Okay. To say there's no budget in the world, the federal budget is $3-point-something trillion.
Doesn't go as far as it used to.
Yeah, it used to be real money.
If you want to count to 1 trillion, it would take you 100,000 years, and that's one number per second every waking and sleeping moment of your life. That's how big that number is, point one. Point two, it's not that we can't afford it, it's that we have chosen to not afford it. I tweeted recently that the U.S. bailout of the banks exceeded the 50-year budget of NASA. You want to put something in context. If you want to do something with $3.5 trillion, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you judge to be important to the profile of the nation that you were trying to build and to sustain. So I submit to you that when you look at the NASA budget, and I'm tired of saying this, but I'll have to say it again, the NASA budget is 0.4 of 1 penny on a tax dollar. If I held up the tax dollar and I cut horizontally into it 0.4 of 1% of its width, it doesn't even get you into the ink. So I will not accept a statement that says we can't afford it.
You talk about, I find that young people are excited about STEM careers, but their parents are often not, blocking these dreams for their kids. What's the answer?
Yeah, because kids are born scientists. They're always turning over rocks and plucking petals off of flowers. They're always doing things that, by and large, are destructive. And no, that's what exploration kind of is. If you take stuff apart, whether or not you know how to put it back together. This is what kids do. An adult scientist is a kid who never grew up. That's what an adult scientist does. So what happens at home is the kid reaches in the refrigerator, pulls out an egg, and starts juggling it. What's the first thing you do as a parent? Stop playing with the egg. It could break. Put it back. Excuse me, this is an experiment in the material strength of let the kid find out that when it drops, it breaks. This is a physics experiment. Rapidly turned into a biology experiment, okay? The yolk oozes out. You say, hey, that becomes a chickie one day, okay? Wait, how does this gooey oak become a chicken? Well, that's biology. Check that out. And what did the egg cost you? 20 cents? President of Harvard once said, if you think education is expensive, you should try the cost of ignorance. So we don't have enough parents who understand or know how to value the inquisitive nature of their own kids because they want to keep order in their household. Kids go into the kitchen and pull out all the pots and pans and start banging on them. What's the first thing you say as a parent? Stop making all that noise. Stop the racket. You're getting the pots and pans dirty. You just squashed an entire experiment in acoustics. So, I'm not worried about kids. People say, what can I do to get my kids interested in science? They're already interested in science. You're the one who's the problem. So, almost my entire professional energy is focused on adults because they outnumber kids. They vote. They run the world. They wield opportunities. Kids will be fine.
That's it.
Give me one more.
One more.
One more. I'm sorry, but I'm feeling it now. One more.
All right.
Make it a good one.
There's something, Doc, called the Kessler syndrome. Would you explain what that is? Because you could better than I.
Well, I don't know specifically what that is, but the scenario that
then I'll tell you.
No, the scenario that was portrayed with total catastrophic satellite failure by one satellite breaking apart, taking out 10 others, and each one taking out 10 others, until the whole space volume is filled with debris, so it takes out everything that's there. That's a real scenario.
The syndrome is that there's so much crap. When it hits another piece of crap, it shatters into many more.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Okay.
No, I thought that's what I just said.
So. I say it happens exponentially. That's what's different in my experience.
That's what 1 going to 10 going to 100. But okay.
But here's what they're worried about, that there's so much of this that in time it will bring down the satellites.
Yes, it can happen.
And we could not have cell phones.
No, cell phones operate off of towers, typically.
But don't they bounce it off satellites?
Occasionally, but...
What about texting? That bounces off a satellite. No?
So most of your cell phone traffic is cell tower. But your point is well taken.
Here's what's clear. Bill wants Cuban cigars and he wants a cell phone. That's my takeaway of this whole thing.
The point is, yes, if you shatter a satellite, this is debris moving 17,000 miles an hour, and even chips of paint, if you get hit with them, that's a bad day for you. So yes, it is bad, and they took that to an extreme limit in the movie, and that was one of the truer things represented in the movie.
Right.
Compared with other things like she's a medical doctor repairing the Hubble telescope. Right. I don't think so. Okay? I don't send auto mechanics to operate on your heart. All right, so this was, so I tweeted that, and people got upset with me
So
for that.
upset. They were upset that...
They went...
Right, but they're okay that George Clooney is a ghost.
Spoiler alert!
Or not.
Yeah,
It was more like a hallucination.
No, that's a
Remember?
hallucination.
It was really more
That's
like a
right.
hallucination.
You're right.
That's right. It was her fault, not his.
Right.
He wasn't the real ghost. But here's the point. If the debris is low enough in the atmosphere, it will eventually drop out of orbit because Earth's atmosphere does not have a sharp edge. It just fades to fewer and fewer atmospheric particles. And almost no matter your height, up to several hundred miles, you're going to hit some particles and it'll slowly slow you down. And eventually you drop back to Earth burning up. In fact, we take full advantage of the atmosphere taking you out of orbit for satellites that we want to purposefully take out of orbit. If you take them out of orbit at a particular spot, it'll get lower and lower and plunk down in the Pacific Ocean, the great toilet bowl of satellite debris.
Are we going to be quizzed on this?
No, just
because I'm not taking notes.
He is so brilliant for a guy who looks like he plays bass in the Jay Giles band. That's all I have to say.